A lion weighing 400 pounds could cover 50 meters in under 3 seconds. Ancient humans had no walls, no guns, and no electric lights. They slept on the ground, in the dark, surrounded by some of the most powerful predators that ever lived. And yet, here you are. That is not luck. Something happened in the ancient night that rewired the cost calculations inside every large carnivore's brain. And scientists only recently figured out what it actually was. It was not strength. It was not one discovery. It was a slow, brutal, step-by-step process that took millions of years to complete. In this video, you will discover 6 hidden advantages that made ancient humans too costly, too dangerous, and too unpredictable for even the largest predators to attack while sleeping. And the last one will completely change how you think about the human story. Let's start 3 million years ago, at the moment when everything was most dangerous. Picture an open African savanna just after sunset. A group of early humans huddled on the ground, no shelter, no fire, barely any tools. Around them, in the dark, lions, leopards, hyenas, and sabre-toothed cats. Scientists found direct proof of what happened in those nights inside a South African cave called Swartkrans. A skull fragment there had 2 puncture holes, perfectly matching the spacing of leopard canines. For decades, scientists assumed that skull belonged to a different early human species called Paranthropus. But a 2024 reassessment changed the entire story. That skull likely belonged to Homo, our own direct line. Not a distant cousin, us. So the starting point is not ancient humans were weak prey. The starting point is ancient humans were prey, full stop. And that is exactly why what came next is so extraordinary. The first hidden advantage had nothing to do with weapons or fire. It had to do with where humans chose to sleep, and why that choice alone started tilting the odds. Before humans could control fire, they still had to survive the night. And researchers from UC Davis proposed something that most documentaries completely miss. Early humans may have used stone tools to cut acacia thorn branches and build sleeping enclosures. Think of a dense wall of sharp thorns packed around the group with no easy way through. Not every predator is willing to shred its face for a meal. The same tactic is used by traditional Maasai communities today, and it works. Old Owen tools found near ancient campsites show woodcutting and sawing wear patterns dating back almost 2 million years. That means the technology to build thorn walls existed long before the first confirmed campfire. And here is what makes that important for predator behavior. A defended sleeping site sends a signal to any passing carnivore. Getting through this will cost you. Predators do not attack for pride or revenge. They attack when the expected reward is worth the expected cost. The moment humans made themselves harder to reach, the calculation started shifting. But thorn walls alone could not protect a group that was also being watched. And something about human sleep biology was already solving that problem in a way no researcher expected. Here is a strange fact about every human alive today. We sleep less than any other primate on Earth. Chimpanzees sleep around 10 hours. Orangutans sleep closer to 12. Humans average just 7. And yet, inside those shorter sleep windows, we pack in the highest proportion of deep REM sleep of any primate on the planet. Scientists who study sleep ecology think they know why. Sleeping on the ground, instead of in trees, tripled the danger of the night. To survive, the human brain needed to compress its recovery time. Get in, get the deep repair, and get alert again, faster than any other primate. But here is the part that directly protected ancient groups. In any group of sleeping humans, individuals did not all cycle through sleep at exactly the same time. Researchers studying baboons found something remarkable. Even though baboons sleep in groups with no assigned guard system, there was always at least one member of the group awake during roughly 82% of the night. Not because they planned it, just because different sleep cycles naturally desynchronized. In a group of ancient humans, this meant something sat between a predator and an easy kill: unpredictability. The lion could not know when someone would open their eyes. It could not know who was already watching. And for an ambush hunter built on precision and surprise, uncertainty is the enemy. Now we get to the part most people think they already know, but they almost certainly have it wrong. Fire. Most people assume ancient humans built a fire, predators saw the flames and ran, problem solved. That is not what the evidence shows. Occasional signs of fire appear in places like Wonderwork Cave in South Africa as far back as 1 million years ago. But the strongest archaeological evidence for regular, widespread fire use does not appear until around 400,000 years ago. That is a gap of 600,000 years, where humans were surviving the night with something other than reliable campfires. So fire was not the instant fix. But when it did become common, something far more interesting happened than just scaring animals with flames. In 2025, a bioenergetic study produced a number that reframes everything. Hunting a large animal yielded roughly 16,000 calories per hour of effort. Gathering plants yielded around 1,400. That gap meant that when early humans killed something large, they had food worth fighting for. A single hippopotamus could feed a group of 25 people for 22 days. A large, straight-tusked elephant could sustain a group for months. But here is the problem. Every scent particle from that carcass was broadcasting a dinner invitation to every predator within kilometers. Fire solved two problems at once. The flames and smoke kept scavengers back from the kill, and the central fire anchored the whole group in one place, clustered, visible to each other, and much harder to pick off one by one. Among the Hyenas people of southern Africa, whose lives have been studied as a window into ancient human behavior, researchers recorded something specific. Adults sometimes woke around 2 in the morning, stoked the fire, and chatted briefly before going back to sleep. Not because they were on a formal guard schedule, but because keeping the fire fed was already woven into the rhythm of nighttime life. The fire was not just heat. It was a signal that someone was awake. And research from around Nairobi National Park proved how powerful that signal actually is. Scientists installed flickering LED lights around livestock enclosures, lights programmed to move in a pattern that mimicked a person walking slowly with a torch. Before the lights, 184 lion attacks recorded. After the lights, 7. A 96% drop. From fake movement. From the mere suggestion of an awake human presence. That is not a physical barrier. That is predator psychology responding to the evolved cost of encountering a human who might be watching. Now here is the piece that most videos do not reach. Fire did not just protect bodies. It transformed human minds. Researchers analyzed 174 conversations among Hyenas adults, split between daytime and nighttime. During the day, 31% of conversation was about economics, work, and resources. During the night, 81% of lengthy conversations were stories. Myths, ancestry, distant events, social rules, warnings passed down through generations. Fire gave ancient humans safe, extended evening hours for the first time. And in those hours, humans began building something no other species had, a shared mental world that existed beyond the moment. Warnings about predators could be passed to children who had never seen them. Strategies for defending the camp could be refined across generations. The knowledge that made a group dangerous could survive the death of the individuals who first discovered it. Fire did not just keep lions away. It gave humans a way to remember why lions were dangerous and what to do about it. But all of this still left one question open. At what point did predators stop seeing humans as prey and start seeing them as a threat? The answer is buried in a cave in Germany. In Siegsdorf, researchers found the skeleton of a cave lion dating back 48,000 years. Inside one of its ribs was a perimortem puncture, meaning the wound was made at the moment of death. The shape matched a wooden thrusting spear. Butchery marks covered the bones. Neanderthals had not just defended themselves from a cave lion. They had hunted it, killed it, and processed the body. The prey had become the predator. And the fossil record suggests the shift was already building long before that. Taphonomic evidence from Olduvai Gorge shows that by the early Pleistocene, early humans had primary access to fresh, fleshed carcasses, not scraps left behind by lions. They were not scavenging. They were competing at the kill site, and winning. From the lion's perspective, a creature that could take food away from you, shred your ribs with a thrown stick, and then remember exactly what happened. That creature is not prey. That creature is a problem. And so the question predators had to answer every night was no longer, can I eat this? It was, is this meal worth what it might cost me? Researchers ran an experiment in California that answered that question with alarming clarity. Scientists placed audio speakers near fresh puma kills. From one speaker, the sound of frogs. From the other, normal human conversation. When frog sounds played, the puma stayed and kept eating in 94% of cases. When human voices played, The pumas fled in 83% of first encounters. They did not stay to investigate. They abandoned their own meal and ran. Not from a weapon. Not from fire. From the sound of humans talking. That is what millions of years of cost-benefit pressure looks like in a living animal's behavior. The human voice alone had become a signal encoded deep enough that even a puma at its own kill would rather go hungry than risk proximity. Now, you might be thinking, what about darkness? Surely predators had the advantage in the dark. And yes, the data shows that darkness was genuinely the most dangerous factor for ancient humans. Researchers in southern Tanzania analyzed 474 lion attack victims across 450 events. Nearly 60% of those attacks happened between 6 and 9:45 in the evening. Not in the deepest dark of midnight. In the early evening, when humans were still outside and active but the light had dropped just enough for lions to move unseen. And here is the finding that will change how you think about moonlit nights forever. The full moon was not the most dangerous time. The 10 days after the full moon were 24 times more deadly than the 10 days before it. Because as the moon rose later and later after the full, it left the early evening in total darkness. Lions were also hungrier, having failed to catch much during the bright nights when prey could see them coming. So the danger spiked when darkness returned to the early hours, exactly when ancient humans were still moving around camp. The solution was not to hide. The solution was to make the camp itself feel like a hazard. Fire in the early evening. Voices. Movement near the flames. The same signals that made pumas abandon their kills. And there is one final layer to this story that almost never gets told. Social cooperation did not just help humans defend themselves. It reshuffled the entire way predators had to think about hunting. At Taif Forest in West Africa, researchers tracked chimpanzees under heavy leopard pressure for 5 years. In that time, they recorded 29 direct leopard interactions. 9 chases drove the leopards away completely. 11 rescue rushes happened when a group member called out an alarm. 6 individuals were injured. 4 died. But the leopards were not simply winning. They were paying a price every time they tried. And under that sustained pressure, the chimpanzees did something remarkable. They changed their social structure. All male parties became more common. Groups became more defensive in composition. Predator pressure was literally reshaping how the primate society organized itself. Now scale that across millions of years of early human evolution. Every group that cooperated better survived more nights. Every group that communicated faster around a fire, that passed knowledge to children, that retaliated against predators rather than simply fleeing, those groups left more descendants. The ones who did not cooperate well enough left fewer. Over generations, the human animal was not just surviving predators. It was being built by the pressure of surviving them. The group became the weapon. The camp became the fortress. The fire became the signal that announced to anything watching from the dark, this is not easy prey. This is something else entirely. And that is why, when researchers study large carnivores today, they still find that the human signal carries a cost that no other prey species does. Even a well-fed puma at a secured kill will flee from a human voice. Even a lion will avoid an enclosure where a light moves like a walking person. That fear was not programmed into predators by one discovery or one invention. It was written into them across millions of years of encounters with a species that kept raising the cost of attacking it. The answer to the title of this video is not one thing. It was never one thing. It was a slow, compounding ratchet. Sleeping sites chosen with care. Sleep cycles that left someone always close to waking. Thorn walls that made access painful. Fire that anchored the group and signaled wakefulness. Retaliation that made every attack a risk. Shared knowledge that passed all of this down. And eventually, weapons sharp enough to flip the relationship entirely. Ancient humans did not escape the predator's world. They reshaped it, one night at a time, across a timeline so long it is almost impossible to hold in your head. But here's what should genuinely unsettle you. That reshaping is not finished. Modern lions still kill over 1,000 people in southern Tanzania across just 2 decades. The danger never fully went away. It just got pushed to the margins where the fire is low, the group is alone, and no one is watching. Which raises a question the science has not fully answered yet. What happens to predator behavior as human presence spreads into the last wild spaces? Are we still changing the calculus, or are we breaking something that took millions of years to build? That question is explored in depth in the next video, and the answer is stranger than you would expect. Click it now, because the story of what humans are still doing to the predator world is just as fascinating as what predators once did to us.